Doing Time with Deputy Mike.
Hi, welcome back to Doing Time with Deputy Mike. I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be talking about the auto industry. And my guests today will be Mr. Carlson, Mr. Beachler, and Matthew and Weston. So let's go ahead and move on to interrogation time.
Interrogation time.
Well, we'll start with you, Bryan.
Yes.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Bryan Carlson. I'm the auto collision instructor here. It's my second year. I've been working on cars for over 40 years, so really feel old. But this is a good change. I mean, it's not near as physical as a job as what my other one was. So, but yeah, that's who I am.
Dave?
Hi, I'm Dave Beachler. I'm the auto service instructor here at TCTC. ASE certified master technician. Been in the automotive industry for over 30 years. In some capacity or another. I've been teaching here now for, this is my 6th year teaching high school.
Go ahead, Weston.
Hi, I'm Weston Cozart. I'm a student here at my program is Auto Service Technology, and I'm 17, and I'm definitely glad I chose this program.
My name is Matthew. I am going on 17, and I'm here in auto collision.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, everyone's welcome. So let's move on into the booking.
The booking.
So, go ahead and tell us about, like, you've been doing this for years and years and years before coming here.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, tell us how you got into this. And
When I was 13 years old, my dad did construction, and he was working on a guy's house that owned a body shop, and his one helper that he had was going to college, and he asked my dad, he goes, "Do you think Bryan could be able to help me?" He goes, "Well, what do you need?" He goes, "Just somebody take stuff apart." My dad's like, "Oh, yeah, he can do that." So I started working and just kept going, and 41 years later, here I am.
here you are. So, I take it you love your work. And you left, actually, you had your own.
Yeah, I've been in the shop for
Shop.
25 years, and then there was a time when I was in my 20s I thought about becoming a state patrolman, but then I decided not to. But you know, every time you have that little time in your life, I'm like, should I be doing something else?
Yeah.
But no, I stuck with it. I'm glad I did. But
Very good. And you've been doing this for
Yeah,
years and years.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. Similar to Bryan, you know, I started in the industry when I was 14 years old. I started in a GM dealership. You know, I was the little gopher, hold this, do this, you know, help me with this, empty the trash can, scrub the floors. And, you know, I just started from there. The technicians started showing me stuff, took me under their wings. And before I could even drive, you know, they were pulling cars in and out. I was doing oil changes, brakes, tires. And I just, you know, been continuing on from there. You know, GM certified, love the dealerships. You know, so you get a lot of extra training, you know, when you're in the dealers and stuff like that. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy. You know, I do a lot of other things on the side, but you know, fixing cars. There's no greater joy in, you know, taking something broke and pride, you know, fixing it and making it run again. And you know, so yeah, it's been, you know, the first and only love of, you know, my life to be able to do this.
No, did you ever have that moment where it's like, is there something else I want to do?
Honestly, for me, I can probably say no, because I started at a very young age. I mean, I was tearing lawnmowers apart, bikes, tractors, you know, anything I could get my hands on to tear apart, I was tearing apart, putting it back together. And, you know, I'd take old bikes, fix them up, and, old lawnmowers, so I don't honestly think there was ever a time until the opportunity came to, came across the table to be able to teach. Then it was like, yeah, that's a good.
But you're still doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Teaching others now.
and this is probably because as you get into the industry for so long, your hands wear out, your back, knees, neck, you know what I mean? It takes a toll on your body over time. And like Bryan was saying, this is, I don't want to say easier in a sense, but it's not as physically strenuous. But what I love doing is being able to, give the information and pass this information down to the next generation of technicians, because we're a dying breed. Technicians are retiring at an alarming rate, and there's nobody who wants to step up to take their place. So trying to instill in these students work ethic and life skills along with the automotive industry to be able to go out and get jobs and perform at the highest level, that's very rewarding to me.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you both have done this. So, first off with you, there's been huge changes in motors from back then to where we're at now. And with you, the cars, I mean, from going from steel to plastic and everything else in between.
And just all the driver safety systems and all that stuff. And
So,
a lot of,
I mean, in fact, well, Dave, go ahead and tell us, like, with the engines. I mean, the engines alone, literally, you buy a new car now, like I bought a new car. I can't no longer just jump in there and change my own oil. Gotta take half the engine apart.
Well, you could, but you're probably going to end up bringing it back to us anyhow.
Yes.
So yeah, with the engines themselves, even, I mean, now we're starting to transition to all electric. So we're getting away from the ICE or ICE internal combustion engines going over to electric vehicles. So that's a major game changer right there in and of itself. But even the combustion engine has changed dramatically over the years. Just with going from carburetors to fuel injection, and now we have direct fuel injection, and it's just there's a bunch of different add-ons and electronics, and like Bryan was saying, safety features and all kinds of different things. I mean, there's over almost 200 computers in a car right now. So everything is controlled by computers and wiring. So and the changes, they never stop. I mean, vehicles change on a yearly basis.
Well, you brought something up. So what is the big difference? I didn't realize this with the fuel injection, but what's the difference between the two?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's actually different styles of fuel injection. I mean, the early fuel injection was your throttle body injection. It kind of looked like a carburetor, but it just had an injector that sprayed fuel down on the top of the engine. Then they went from throttle body injection to port fuel injection, where there's an injector for each cylinder in the intake. And now they have what they call direct inject engines, which the injectors are down almost inside the cylinder head, and they spray the fuel right into the combustion chamber. And over the years, our fuel pressures have gone from 5 psi to a carburetor. Now with our direct injected engines, we can be pushing 1500 psi.
Wow.
So yeah, it's enough to cut a finger off.
That's a lot. And let's talk about how much the bodies, I mean, the frames. Well, we don't have frames.
But I mean, when I started 40 years ago, a lot of cars still had frames. The only safety thing you had was a seat belt and maybe a collapsible steering column. But now everything, you got airbags, you got autonomous braking and all that stuff. And when you fix a car now, you got to make sure all that works. There's a lot of liability involved, so you got to get that across to the students that this can't just be okay. This has to be right.
Right.
So even in auto collision now, it's to where you have to have a scanner. It used to only be just for mechanical, but now you need it for auto just to make sure all that stuff works before you give it back to the customer, because it's a lot of liability involved. But yeah, there's very few vehicles except for pickup trucks that have frames anymore.
The Jeeps. Do Jeeps still?
The Wranglers do.
The Wranglers.
Yeah.
God, I love my Wranglers. Yeah. But you actually worked on my son's car. My son's got trashed by a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And I never knew this. You guys actually do mechanic repairs also.
Yeah, anything that's involved in an accident.
Accident.
Yeah, radiators, air conditioning, usually because of the condenser smashed, but you get airbag stuff and some electricals. You get suspension damage, something goes off the road into the ditch, but
And
you
see,
know, we don't do like motors or nothing.
right, but
you know, maybe a
that's
motor
still
mount.
a lot that people don't use.
Yeah.
You know, you hear body shop, and that's what
Mhm.
you visualize. Just your car going in, give me a spray, paint job, whatever.
Yeah, and a lot of them are that, but you get
Yeah.
you get some bigger collisions, you get into the mechanical stuff.
Yeah. There's even Bryan could attest to this. There's even bigger collision centers that employ their own technicians just to do the mechanical side of it. A matter of fact, I just got a phone call a couple weeks ago from one of the body shops in town. They're looking to hire technicians to be able to, do the mechanical end of their, repairs. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's a lot of people don't realize. So, Weston,
Mm-hmm.
what first tell us a little about you. I mean, you play sports, you play music.
Yeah, I used to play sports growing up. I played all, baseball, soccer, basketball. I was never really too good at those, but baseball was my main thing. I loved baseball. I used to play third base, and after that, I dropped sports for a while and focused on making music. I was self-taught on, guitar, piano, drums, singing, bass. I self-taught myself for about going on 6 years now.
So that's what you do for your downtime and fun?
Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah, I have a buddy, and he plays drums, and we like to make music all the time, and we play everything. So it's really fun. Hopefully get some gigs here, when it comes to either restaurants or even like fairs and stuff like that. Hoping to play something like that.
Do you know, one thing I've noticed with this school is that a lot of the kids are actually music inclined, like doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And usually you don't find that like in a regular school. They either I'm doing nothing, or you're playing sports, or something, or you are in music. But here, I mean, it's funny because all around the board, whether you're a mechanic or you're working in computers or doing this or that, they all like music, which is nice. So tell us, how did you decide to come to this?
Well, growing up, I had a few uncles, and my grandpa taught them how to work on anything, construction-wise, auto-wise, everything. And they never really. I always was interested in cars and everything. I was like, man, that'd be really cool to know your stuff. I always had respect for people who know all these parts and everything and how it works. It's just such complexity, So then I started going to car shows with my dad, local ones, and then some of my friends got interested, and we started going to ones in Canton and stuff, and all these huge cars, some like Lamborghini Aventadors and stuff like that start coming in, and I'm just like, man, and my friends they just it's like their lifestyle, they just know so much, and I always wanted to work on them and stuff, not just know them, but know how to fix them. I like helping people out, and this opportunity came, and I heard about it, talked to other people who've been in it before, and they seemed to like it, and I was just like, it'd be a great opportunity, and I do not regret it one bit.
I have a little car story I could tell, but it's probably not good. The first time I saw a Ferrari, which was a true Ferrari, 80s you saw those kit cars.
Replicas.
They were everywhere, and big deal. They weren't really nothing. Well, I had a Cuda. I loved my Cuda. And my brother and I, actually, it was the day of the tornado, we talked to our mom into letting us, it was the end of school, so we always come up here because this is, we lived in Zanesville, but this is where all my family is. But coming the back route, and it goes from a 2-lane into a 4-lane highway, and out of nowhere, this red car comes up to us, and we're doing unofficially 65, and the guy's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and my brother goes, dude, don't even do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to smoke this guy. He's like, no, don't do it. And I'm like, oh, he's making me mad. He just keeps staring at us. And I said, I'm doing it. He's like, don't. So, I put that throttle down, And the next thing I know, this guy starts spinning his tires doing 65 miles an hour, like smoking them. And all of a sudden, like a slingshot. And we're going up a big hill. I mean, we're talking small mountains down there. By the time I got to that peak, he had already gone over a mile, and he was going over the next crest. Like, so I'm just, looking at my brother, dumbfounded.
What'd he have?
He had a Ferrari.
Oh, it was
A real Ferrari.
A real Ferrari.
A real Ferrari. And my brother Dave goes, "You're so stupid." I'm like, isn't that a kit car? He goes, "Dude, that was a real Ferrari." Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Well, I don't really do too much outside of school, apart from help my stepdad at his auto shop down in Niles.
So, all right, what brought you? What intrigued you about doing body shop or body work?
Well, originally I was going to come for auto service, but that program was full, so I went with auto collision. But I was always interested in cars because in some sort of aspect, both my grandfathers, my uncle, and my dad were all they were all mechanics in some aspect. So that's just and I idolized my one grandfather.
So, were they mechanics or did any of them do body work?
My grandfather did a little bit of body work along with my dad, and my uncle dabbles here and there in body work.
Well, growing up though, actually, in my generation, pretty much your guys' generation.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you were Chevelles, Mustangs, dime a dozen, and if you were really into the cars, you were doing your own motor work,
Oh, yeah.
and you were doing your own body work.
Yeah.
Which you don't even really. I mean, this is in their own homes.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that anymore. So
Yeah.
well, that's so. Even so, you're still in the field you always liked or wanted.
Yeah.
So I gotta quit saying so. I just started catching myself. What are your plans progressing?
Well, after I graduate next year, I'm going to try and come back for the auto service course and take that and then go work either at my uncle's or my stepdad's body shop.
Nice. Now, that's not so. There it is. So, well, that's what you really want. You're stuck on. You like doing the body work.
Oh, anything mechanical.
Mechanical.
I'm
Or
telling you,
whatever.
once it's in your blood, it's
Yeah,
in
it's
your
in your
blood.
blood.
Like
Yeah, it
it's it's in your blood. It's part of your DNA.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what's your plans when you graduate?
Well, I have a few options. I thought about going into business to eventually learn about that and maybe run my own shop someday. Pursuing music with the band, I'd love to do that. My dad, he was a professional drummer for 35 years and stuff, and he's told me all about being on the road and traveling and stuff, and it just sounds like so much fun, especially just being in a band, especially with good guys.
Sounds
and
like
stuff.
you're more moving to the band than you are vehicles. But
Yeah, but when it comes to here, though, I definitely would like to go for high performance or something like that, for NASCAR or something, or just working just a higher end kind of shop, work on some nice cars over in Canton or Cleveland even, something like that. So.
And that's the other thing that's changed, because growing up, we had no shops that specialized in customizing
Yeah.
or the engine things like he's talking about. I mean, that just never existed. Where you take it down and it's like, yeah, throw in this nice sound system and I'll do something with my suspension and wheels.
Yeah.
Well, everything was easier to work on
It
years
was.
ago too. Now you got electronic things. You got to think you don't want to interfere and mess something up
Yeah.
there, and just
I mean, you change your radio out now, and if it's not right, I mean, the car won't run. So.
That's, that is true. I mean, I didn't realize the first time, I knew everything's computerized. I didn't realize when the battery starts to go dead, how messed up it could start throwing crazy signals out there.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, speaking of the radio went whack, And then all of a sudden, like, I had no power. I literally had to keep my foot on the throttle just to keep it running, and found out it was all just a battery.
Hmm. Yeah, with everything being electronic and all the computer systems and everything, it takes, you know, proper operating, you know, electrical system to be able to, you know, operate the car.
Right. And well, when people lock themselves out, and everyone comes running to us. You know, I actually used to carry a Slim Jim, and I was pretty good at unlocking those doors.
Well, they made them Slim Jim proof now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a plate in there.
Yep.
You
You can't get them down in
get
there.
out. And the other ones that you kind of could, if you don't do it right, you end up breaking the lock.
Yeah.
And that's why they pulled, you know, that's why we actually stopped, because you break someone's lock and then they want to sue you.
Yeah.
Or you
Right.
scratch your car.
Or you
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So police unlocking your car is
No,
pure history.
That's a AAA thing.
That's
now.
a AAA
Yep.
called tow truck.
Or called Mr. B at school.
Yeah. You know, well, my chief always had, and I didn't realize this, and this happened to me. He had a huge key ring of keys. He's like, they only make so many keys. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no. He goes, that's why I keep all these keys. I'm like, really? Well, then I was actually at the mall,
Time.
was inside shopping, came out, walked over to, it's actually my wife's car, unlocked it, stuck my key in an ignition, key wouldn't fit. Like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't fit, and I'm getting mad because I'm like, why won't this key work? And then I finally stopped. I started looking around.
You're in the wrong car.
I was in the wrong car.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, I'm in the wrong car. And so my car was right next to me.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I was like, oh, locked the car, jumped in mine, looked around, and I'm out of there.
Yep.
But we actually had a chief from the sheriff office get in the car, it started, and he drove off in somebody else's car. Didn't realize it was his. And he had a bucket chicken in there. He's like, I don't remember buying that. So he took the chicken off, and it's like, yeah. Finally, someone like, hey, do you think you might have someone else's car?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, that's a true story.
But yeah, with the electronic keys, you probably won't run into that too
No.
much. But the old, they can only have so many codes on those
Codes,
keys.
yeah. Well, there's a thing they're doing now, I saw, and I'm trying to think how it works, where they're telling you to do something with these keys because they could just roll up in your driveway, they do something, and they can literally like clone your thing and start your car and to drive off.
I think it's mostly Kia and Honda they were having
Yeah.
That
issues.
issue
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
So what exactly? How's that? I mean, do you guys know how that works? I mean,
Just pick up on the signal somehow, and they're able to copy it.
copy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was I was in some training over last summer, and one of the big things out now, you know, is all the electric cars and self-driving and all this Wi-Fi features and stuff in the cars.
Yeah.
And my big concern was, okay, how is this going to be protected from hackers? And that's one of their biggest concerns right now is, you know, putting up firewalls to be able to protect all this stuff.
Which is
Yeah,
crazy that you
well,
have to put
yes,
firewalls up in a
right,
car.
Right. Well, when you have the criminals that work harder at doing that stuff than they would at a regular job, then,
That's it.
you know.
Well, weren't they having issues on OnStar there a while ago?
Yeah.
People are hacking into that. GM had that OnStar, and people
Yeah.
are hacking into that.
Well, one thing we haven't even touched on is self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude.
That's scary. I'm sorry. I'm
I
not
don't trust
behind
machines
this.
like
Yeah.
that.
And I'm not into this electric car either.
Yeah.
I don't blame.
No. And actually, I learned this when you were working on my car, and I never even thought about this. But this is something they should be teaching us because we will. But people are getting electrocuted when the car wrecks.
Oh, because of the hybrids.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and nobody
EVs.
knows.
Not
Yep.
to touch anything orange.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And you taught me that.
Yep.
And you know, seriously, if I would have gone to a wreck with an electric car, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. And see, you would think that you guys would have some, but because I know, you know, first responders as far as firefighters and EMTs and stuff like that, they should or do have training on that stuff, which I don't understand why it wouldn't be passed on to
I
you
think
guys.
right now, because it's still so new and there hasn't been enough, and unfortunately for my end, a lot of us gotta have to die before someone
Yeah, it's
says,
too
"Oh,
bad it's
hey,
that way.
Yeah.
maybe we should train these guys. What's going
Yeah,
on here?"
Right.
But yeah, and also the regular you gotta watch them when you're trying to. You can't just douse them with water.
Not the lithium
No.
batteries.
No.
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's got to be the
Smothered.
Make a
foam.
bigger
Yeah.
explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of scary.
it is. The way the vehicles are going is just, I can remember when we were kids, they always said that at one point in time we'd have flying vehicles and
Yes.
stuff like that. That was a big thing back in the early 80s and
Yep.
stuff like that, they're going to have flying
Flying
vehicles
cars.
which, I mean, I'm not going to say that we are or we aren't, but I mean, we're on the way of self-driving vehicles, electric vehicles, and it's, it can be, but on the auto industry side of it, there are redundancies put into place to safeguard and, like if your steering goes out or something like that, whatever the case may be, there's backup features that allow you to still control the vehicle and different things like that. And self-driving vehicles, somebody has to be in the driver's seat for them to drive for the most part, you know what I mean, to
Right.
go down the road. I know like Tesla and stuff has that, valet feature and different things like that, but for the most part, you have to have a physical body in behind the steering wheel. And they have facial recognition as well, that you can't be sleeping or anything like that. Like they have facial recognition
So
where
literally,
they
like if you
they
start to
watch
doze
you.
off,
Yes, on your phone or something, it will actually alert you, and they make sure that you're paying attention.
because in these commercials, it's like, "Oh, let's play patty cake."
Yeah, right.
That's scary. I don't want you playing. I want your actual hands on the wheel, looking
Yeah.
down the road. Like,
Yeah.
GMC's got that hands-free thing. And
Yep.
the guy's going like this.
Yeah.
down the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
scary. I mean,
pulling a trailer yet.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
60 some miles an
Yeah.
hour, pulling a trailer with
Yeah.
like patty
So,
cake.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just crazy. It is.
It is, and the industry's hurting for technicians. You know what I mean? Both auto collision and auto service. I have shops almost daily calling me, "Hey, you got any guys ready? You got any good guys? You got, I'm sure Bryan has
The same
has the same thing. And that's what we're here trying to do is get these guys prepared. To be able to go out into the industry and work on these cars and be successful. So they're not afraid. Give them the confidence they need to go out and work on this stuff without being scared of it, or I don't understand this, so I can't work on it. No, we've given you the knowledge to be able to figure this out.
Well, that's a good point. And with them coming out with now these grand electric cars that are still running and need gas, how are you guys adapting? Because eventually, hopefully, it goes back away. Like this is a fad. Like
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know for auto collision, but for auto service, I don't know that it's a fad. And here pretty soon, with all the electric vehicles
You're
and
gonna-
even the new
yeah.
age diesels, coming back and everything, we're gonna have to start implementing this stuff a little bit. But like we have advisory committees that we deal with, and one of the big things at my last advisory committee meeting in the fall, I actually brought this up because I'm not sure if ODE is going to mandate that we start a program or whatever, but my dealers are very adamant that you don't need to be teaching this stuff to 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, because once they get into the dealers, they're going to have their own training on that. But trying to, like you said, it's very simple to get electrocuted if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And you can disconnect that and put that out of service, but if you don't do that properly, then you're going to get bit.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that I personally, as an instructor, I'm on the fence of, right now of, do I try and start implementing this, or do I hold off a little bit? Because, I'm getting feedback from my committee that tells me no, but you don't know what higher up education, Ohio
Right.
Department of Education and everything is going to start mandating or implementing themselves. So, I mean, if it comes down to being mandated, yeah, I'm ready for it to teach it. I've got classes that I can go to. I've been around it a little bit, and the curriculum that I need, I'm already, ready to pull the trigger with it if need be. But it's going to be one of those things that they'll probably have to tell me, hey, you have to teach this before I actually start teaching it.
Yeah.
Well, this actually brings us to my favorite time of the day, those embarrassing moments. I think I told you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's that so. I think I did kind of good at not saying it as many times as I have in the past. Bryan, if you want to go ahead, you got a great, funny, embarrassing story to share.
To happen here or just
Wherever,
happen in general?
Just general.
I can't really. I mean, I've been embarrassed a lot of times, but I don't know if it's like a really good story or not. I mean,
Hey, mine was running through a park in my underwear chasing Tupperware.
I mean, I tried to get out of a car with my seatbelt still hooked on. That was, because I was in a hurry, but I mean, that's a weird feeling. It's not super funny, but
Actually,
I was just looking around, make sure nobody else saw me do that.
I actually, all this stuff gets hooked on them. Like, you start. In fact, it was Friday. I went to go get out in the morning. I was all wrapped up in the belt.
Yeah.
Come on, you got something. Everyone's got a funny story.
Can't really.
Yeah, they.
Putting us on a spot.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
How about you,
Cool.
Dave?
I mean, if just being on a spot here and trying to think of something, one of the things that I always tell my students, especially after doing brake jobs, you have to, first thing you want to do is pump the pedal and make sure, because what happens if you don't, you get into test drive it, you put it in reverse and you don't have any brakes and you're going to end up running somebody over or backing into something.
Through the garage door.
Yeah, right. Lo and behold, the one day I got in a car to test something and didn't realize that the brakes weren't pumped up, and sure enough, I started rolling backwards and hey kids, don't, I told you not to do this. This is exactly why. Don't do this,
You set the example.
Yeah, right.
What's your story?
Oh,
Well, we all have them.
yeah, I've had a few in my time. I guess one time I was at the Eastwood Mall with, a couple friends, and just, we're walking, just talking to each other, and we're like going through a store, and he's got these mannequins up, and I'm just kind of just in the moment talking to him, thinking about that. One of them, trying to be funny, kind of shoves me a little bit, and I knock into all three of these mannequins, right? And of course, there's an employee standing right there and sees me do that. I mean, I'm just falling.
Did they all tumble
Oh,
over?
they tumble, head flew off.
Arms
everything.
flying everywhere.
Yeah,
Parts,
it's like,
pieces.
and then, that employee, let's just say she was not. She gave me a stare that just like, you done goofed, And I was just, never again.
What good story you have for us?
Okay, so I was telling Mr. Carlson a little bit about this during the fire drill. Me, my uncle, my grandfather, and my cousin went out fishing on my uncle's boat. And somehow, some way, my uncle, he didn't bring his fishing pole. So what ended up happening, he was jumping off the front of the boat, and he ended up catching more fish by doing that than all of us combined fishing.
How was he catching fish by jumping
I
off
have
the
no
boat?
idea. He would jump off, dive down. Few seconds or few minutes later, he'll come up with a catfish.
It's like those guys on TV. I forget the name
Yeah.
of that show. Those guys
Yeah.
do
It's
that.
coming up with the
Yeah.
fish.
Just barehanded.
Before we move on to shout-outs, do you guys have anything special going on in either one of your labs or classes? Like, you selling anything or
No.
nothing?
No, yeah, we're pretty even keeled.
All
We get to the point and do the jobs.
I got an airbrush guy that comes in twice a year. He shows the kids airbrushing and pinstriping and stuff. And he's coming in April. We're gonna do everybody likes the pinstriping with so we're gonna concentrate on that. But
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the kids are really, and it's, I mean, I wish I was better at it. But
Yeah. Well, I saw. Is that the guy I saw?
Yeah, with his work, he's
Yeah.
been here a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he had that
does-
motor home with all the flames on it the last time he
He
was
does
here.
really nice work.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to get a shout out to anybody, you know, it'd be my advisory committee because they help me keep the program going, donate, you know, tools and equipment to us, and you know, I wouldn't, you know, probably be in the position I'm in, you know, without their help. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, we are in shout out now, so you got any shout outs for anybody out there?
Oh, it's just like, you know, just, you know, the people that let the kids, you know, we do a lot of customer service, and a lot of people aren't crazy about having teenagers work on their cars, but there's a lot of them that and I make sure they leave and they're not too bad, but, you know, I just appreciate all the people that are willing to let the kids work, because it makes it more like a real life scenario when you get, because you don't, when you have a body shop, you don't know what kind of jobs are going to come in. So just the people that, you know, either it's people here or people out in the public that let us work on their cars, it's really appreciated.
Well, I could say this because you did work on my
Yeah.
car, and the students, and they did an outstanding job. I mean, we couldn't have been more happy with it. So,
Thanks.
got any shout outs? You're not limited just to one person.
Oh, okay. I guess really just shout out to two other students from Auto Service who helped me with this transmission job. They taught me a lot. They've known a lot more than I do, and they taught me a lot and made the class itself just really fun and very nice and enjoyable. Especially having some jokes here and there, but mainly getting the job done and being like very serious about being a technician and making it worth your while. So shout out to them for sure.
I'd like to give a shout out to the staff at Brookfield for actually helping me being able to get here to take auto collision, and the majority of my family that got me interested in cars.
Okay. Well, that does it for this episode. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.